Good afternoon and welcome to the work session for the Board of Education of Greeley-Evans School District 6. This meeting will now come to order. That's long. Ms. Levin, will you please call the roll?
Director Zari.
Present.
Director Bentley.
Present.
Director Campos-Spitzi.
Present.
Director Edmonds.
Present.
Director Lemos-Garcia.
Present.
Director Mesh.
Present.
Director Rogie.
Present.
All board members present.
Thank you. Our first item is to review the calendar. I think 4 or 5 things get added every day. It's very exciting. We'll be getting our school visits. CASB Fall Conference. A couple of us are attending. Again, put a star next to convocation on September 21st. Please plan to be in attendance for that. Another exciting one to attend is our Business Partner Appreciation Breakfast on October 1st. And if you know anyone who might like to host an intern, please invite them to the breakfast as well. Any highlights you'd like to make, Amy?
I think if anyone can be at the Weld County Kids Count presentation, I think that's going to be a very informative presentation. It always is. Just really talks about the state of Weld County and what our kids and their families face economically, health-wise, attendance, all that stuff. So it's going to be at Zoe's, I'm pretty sure, this year. So
It's not at 12:30 a.m., however.
we can meet up early.
But we will have
You'd be first in line.
staff in attendance also. That.
And I think we got virtual invites for this, but I don't see the Greeley Dream Team, the Breakfast of Champions that they do every year.
Oh, that's in a couple
That
weeks.
is on the 17th, and I apologize for the oversight not getting that on the calendar. If you have not RSVP'd for that, please do so. I think I have most of the board's RSVPs, so thank you for that.
And I'll just share, I'm not able to be there. I'll be at the State Colorado School Finance Conference and the State Superintendent's Conference that end of that week. Then I would just like to draw your attention, we don't have November on here yet.
I was about to ask about that.
But,
tonight.
yeah, I want to just to draw your attention to November 9th. If everyone can be available, we would like to bring Spark and Compass in. They worked with you at CASB last year. Brett Miles and Susan Spark and, Susan Meeks and Sherry Branch. But we'd like to bring them in that afternoon, 1:30 to 4:30, and do a board retreat. And then we wouldn't have a regular board work session. We'd give you a little break and then have a board meeting that night if that works for everybody,
1:30 to what time?
to 4:30.
And President Mash, there is one thing that probably won't be added to the calendar, but the board should be made aware of, and that is on Saturday, October 17th at 7:30 p.m. The Friends of a Women's Place will be holding their Outstanding Women of Weld County event again, and that's at the Ames Welcome Center. And Dr. Campo-Spitzi and Dr. Pelch will both be recognized
I know.
at that event.
And Amy can reserve seats for you all if you're interested in going, so she'll put something out to you all if you're interested in coming.
October 17th.
Yes, 7:30 p.m.
Thanks, Doran.
Okay. Well, just a friendly reminder, if you can RSVP to all of the events that we get invited to, just so we know how many of us are attending a school visit, or sometimes they require, a ticket or something like that. So try to stay up on those. Thank you very much. We will move on to our board member comments, and let's begin.
Yeah, just one thing. It was really great to be at the Community Council on Education, hear a presentation on the School of Orthopedics over there at UNC. And it was, hats off to them for all the hurdles they're having to go through. I think it's a really great forum for education, not only for us to be at the table, but also to hear what's happening and opportunities to direct our students towards, especially a field that, it seems like you can fill in the blank for these future shortfalls of professionals, that if we can build them up in District 6 to have family practitioners here and to work with various pilots, nurses, like all these shortages that are coming up, I think it's just great we have that in our community. And yeah, I'm just excited to have been able to hit RSVP on a lot of the upcoming things. I'm excited to report back next time on all these wonderful future events.
Thank you. Dr. Campo-Spitzi.
Yes, I wanted to start by thanking the District 6 Transportation Team for their quick pivot, adding new routes to accommodate for the school stops that were removed by the Greeley-Evans transit system as they try to streamline their system, and for timely communication with families. I just thought that was so important for our team to get on top of that so quickly. So proud of us for doing that. It was a short turnaround. So then for those like me who unfortunately had to miss the inaugural girls flag football match that was hosted by Northridge Grizzlies, but the team is made up of high school girls from different high schools. You can catch a really great video that was captured by our communications team on the District 6 Facebook page. And tonight, if you want to skip a boring school board business meeting, they have their their next home game at 6 p.m. at D6 Stadium against Fort Lupton. And along the lines of athletics in our district, I think I saw something in the intercom that staff can get into all games with their ID as like the free pass into games. Yes? I thought that was, and a guest. So yeah, cool. Bring your ID to games and go cheer on our students. And then as a parent, I was happy to receive an email this week rolling out Zello. It has a parent portal. And so you as a parent get to see everything your kid is doing from kindergarten through 12th grade, the careers they're interested in, the steps they've taken towards, in the later years towards getting closer to applying for college or a trade. So I just thought that's very exciting that is getting rolled out. August 19th is important in Colorado because it's when CMAS scores are released across the state. I was happy to see a lot of celebrations for District 6 on the CMAS, that we have seen growth in math, and excited about opportunities for us to grow in English language arts. I'm proud of us for having a strategy and a plan for tackling that third grade ELA, because once we hit that third grade, it'll just be a domino effect, I believe, into the rest of the upper grades. And lastly, I meant to highlight this last meeting, but UNC and District 6 have a partnership where UNC is offering master's degrees in the School of Teacher Education and the School of Special Education. For educators, you can get a master's for less than $10,000. I know my sister has her master's and she's an educator, and when she got her master's, I want to say 15 years ago, it cost about $10,000. And so this is a pretty discounted rate, taking into account that inflation and all that. But yeah, hoping our educators can take advantage of that. And that is all.
Yeah, I also attended the Community Council on Education, and I appreciated the update on the osteopathic medical school. And I know they still have some challenges ahead, and our best thoughts are with them as they move through some of the process. And then I also wanted to thank Michael Matthews for his comprehensive update concerning the school district. I thought that was well done. I also attended the girls' flag football game at Northridge. That's an exciting evening to be around the athletes on the field, and they really did a great job, in my opinion. Just a lot of energy was put into the game, and I thank all the coaches that work with the girls on that team. And then finally, I took up the invitation to come down here and have the salad bar on Friday, put together by the transition services kids and the staff members. And I know from experience that although that may look easy, it's not easy to put those things on, and I know that they do it quite often. So it's a continuing thing. So that's it. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. Director Lamas-Garcia.
Yes, I had the pleasure of attending the girls' flag football game as well, and so it was very great. It was very fun. It was so nice to see the excitement out on the field, and I do want to share that Northridge was hosting the team, but we do have students playing from Greeley Central, Greeley West, Eaton High School, and University. So I'm excited to see their season and hopefully be able to go watch some additional games. I also participated in the fraud inquiry interview. So they randomly select a board member, and I was the lucky one elected. It was a great experience. The reason why they do that is to ensure that the controls are in place and that there's no suspect fraud. I feel like it was a very successful interview, and we have a good process in place. So I want to share that as well. And then last meeting, I failed to share that I did have an intern as well. So I had a summer intern with me, and it was a great experience for both of us. And she's still with me, so I'm excited to keep her for a little while longer. So, yes.
Thank you. And Director Hiroki?
Well, this is repetitive in terms of some of the things that you all got to go to, but I went to the Community Council on Education and heard the presentation about for the DO school. And for me, it's just so very interesting because my son is a DO and he's in his last year of residency. And he attended Rocky Vista, which is in Denver, which is a private school. And she was mentioning the difference in the cost for someone to attend a publicly supported school as opposed to a private school. And I was shocked at the difference in the price and just feeling excited about that opportunity for people in our community and in Colorado to be able to have that training. And I enjoy the lady that is I just checked with you, Beth Longnecker, and she just has such an interesting personal story of growing up with a dad as a doctor, and just kind of she really highlighted some of the differences between what a DO does as opposed to a medical doctor. And I always kind of appreciate that holistic approach to medicine. So it was very interesting for me and really did enjoy hearing about what's going on with that. And also, as some of you mentioned, concerned about some of the struggles they're having getting in their building and some of the frustrations that go along with that. And then I also was able to go to the inaugural Northridge girls flag football game. And that was just really, really fun to see how excited the girls were and to see that sport be happening and available for our students. And so I was excited that we've made that step and moved forward to offer that. And it was just really a nice evening to get to watch them.
Thank you. Director Bentley?
Work life's been not balanced lately, so I've been focusing on that, and I didn't get to do anything, but I am glad you guys are getting out to the Community Council on Education. It's a very advantageous and a good system for the reason they came about, and then just the work that they have done in the past, and then the work they're currently doing, and hopefully the work that they will be doing here in the near future. So I'm excited to see downtown starting to take a new shape with the buildings going down. Every time I drive by it, I can't even remember what building was there because it's just gone all of a sudden. And then, so that means we're well on our way to our new district administration building. So excited for football season and the weather to cool off a hair.
Yeah, I also attended the Community Council on Education. I'm glad we've extended that invite to the rest of the board because it is always beneficial, and get to see and thank our partners again. Dr. Pilch and I did, and Michael Matthews, we attended the Greeley Area Realtors Association luncheon, and that was a wonderful opportunity for Dr. Pilch to share about what's going on in District 6, and they are a very enthusiastic partner of District 6, but also just really, they are the ambassadors that are bringing people to Greeley. So they believe in us. That's excellent. That's going to get folks new to Greeley to enroll their students in District 6. So especially thank you to Julie Jensen, who is like our number one fan, I think, and just really
very enthusiastic.
She really shares a lot with her colleagues about District 6. So that was a lot of fun. And I look forward to using my golden ticket to get into all of the athletic events. It's my first year not attending as a parent, so I'm going to go to all of them. I'll share the wealth a little bit more than I have in the past. So, all right. Well, we are moving on to our District 6 facility assessment and master plan. And I understand that the architects will join us for the business meeting, but Mr. Henson will walk us through what's going on.
Well, good afternoon. Apologize for the little hiccup in our planning here, but the architects will be here during the board meeting. Jeff and I, this is Jeff Kirtley, our Director of Facilities. This project probably took 20% of our time the whole last school year. We started this project last summer and then met with various groups and worked during the school year to collect data for perhaps an upcoming bond or something. And it's just a way for us to measure progress that we made with our last bond versus looking at needs in our district, facility needs, kind of from a broader perspective this time. The last time we did this was, I was looking at this 8 or 9 years ago already. And so we did not, for example, the last time we did not look at our support services buildings. We focused on schools and kids in the last bond, and we have needs, so we broadened our view this time. This report is 1,700 pages, and we're going to go through every one very quickly, which some of you may have seen before, but we're just going to give you a high-level view of what this report looks like, and then give you 2 examples of buildings that we looked at so you can kind of see some of the differences. We do have financial information in parts of the report. We're not concerned about that tonight at all. We have a lot of work to do on prioritizing our work in the future, and we'll address that at a later time. Okay? So, what kind of clicker is this? All right. There we go. So our team from R&B Architects, who you'll see later, I'll let them introduce themselves at a later time, but they're the ones that organized this with probably a group of 15 subcontractors that came. We had one day, I think it was Wednesday, week they came, and then we bombed schools or facilities, buildings. So some people were walking on the roof, some were in the kitchen, some were in the gym, some were underneath, looking at all parts of the building. So we split it up between with the specialty of the subcontractor. Really what we wanted to look for, what we look for in a master plan, is we want to balance operational efficiency, our educational needs, and long-term planning. So we want to think in long-term. Part of that's going to be looking at demographics within our district. We also want to make sure that if we're making decisions in terms of programming in a building, that we're thinking not about just today, but long-term effects. And then operational efficiency. Do we have the right buildings for the right programs? We even looked, and we'll show you this in another couple of weeks, we did an energy study on all of our buildings from a different group, just to see how does that layer into our facility needs. And so here's all the sites that we looked at. We did look at charter schools. We looked at all of our service building sites, and we looked at all of our schools. And so our goal for this report, our last report 9 years ago, was very technical, very bulky, and wanted something that was very user-friendly, kind of easy to see and digest information. And we want it to be useful, and we wanted it to balance the work that we had done in the last bond with still existing needs. And we wanted it to be inspiring for change. And this was our bond statement, our vision statement from 2019. And I think we continue to follow this as we move forward. A lot of the terms in there you see bold are still very relevant and are still needs within our district. And everything we did within the last bond, all the contractors were given that vision statement. Here's our vision. Now let's go. So some of our accomplishments and our overall approach to this. Before we went into buildings, there were a lot of conversations that were had that has kind of entered into our data. In the spring of 2025, I interviewed every principal with 10 questions, which had to do with the previous bond that we went through, gathering that information. I have that and we'll bring that back to principals. We also gave that to this team so they could see where there were still concerns. Our B&B met with most everybody sitting over in this room, the directors, and talked about educational efficiency of programs that we have, from CTE to special needs to whatever. What are things that we need to improve on systemically, or what did we get right, or what do we still need to work on? They talked with Wade and the security team, kind of with the same lens. So they kind of got a feel for where the district was at. And then we started doing the walkthroughs. And the walkthroughs were scheduled where we did maybe one big building or two little ones during a day. And we met with the principal. The principal was also interviewed by the architect prior to us going in there. So that's the third set of information. And then our walkthrough, we actually just walked and looked at what needs to be fixed. What is a long-term, I don't want to say fixed, but a long-term need within the building? What's a short-term need? Is there anything that looks like it's a code violation that we need to take care of? And so all of that data was collected and put into this report. And then they also met with district leadership. They organized background information from the previous bond and with our buildings, and so we kind of have a site plan for each building. And what I will be doing is working with Kim and Anthony. Jeff and I will be doing is we'll be meeting with principals and giving them, here's a snapshot of your building. And we'll be doing that this fall. So these were kind of the big button pictures that we looked at within the facility master plan. And then specific information, if you look district-wide standards and priorities, a lot of those within facilities, we have standards, our own standards and priorities that we try to keep consistent. The principal survey and walked through facility staff, so they met with all of our facilities managers. We tried to make things efficient and consistent as much as we can. So we talked about those. And then we also have CDE facility assessments that CDE comes through all of our facilities. I think it's every 3 years, and then does their own documentation of our sites. And then in terms of facility dashboards over there, every site was given kind of a number for 3 indexes. One's facility condition, repair or not, how's it working, how's it running, would be the facility condition. Adequacy would be, do we have the right kind of programs in the right kind of spaces? Do we have portables? And I'll explain some of that as we go through this. And then utilization, is all the space being used? Is it maxed out? Do we need more space, or is there space present in the building? You good? Okay, so here's the condition index, which kind of is a number that kind of goes up to 1.25. So this is very, facility condition. So it's structural, equipment, furnishings, fire protection. We went through and upgraded, 6 schools last summer for fire protection? 5. And we have 5 or 6 more we're going to do next summer. So we knew that was an issue we had to address. HVAC systems. You've heard us talk about the boiler replacements we did in a lot of buildings. That's good. but we still have a lot of old rooftop units and things like that that need to be replaced. And then electrical systems, which includes, are we LED lights or not? That's kind of the simplest thing to look at. And then plumbing systems, you've all heard about, maybe bathrooms or things. So those are things that we look at. Adequacy index, kind of learning spaces. So we're using modulars, STEM programs, outdoor spaces, play and recess. We have a lot of playgrounds that have fallen behind that need to be replaced. And athletic fields. We have a lot of turf areas that probably are coming up on 10 years and need to be replaced. Nutrition, we looked at our cafeterias, serving and equipment in there. And then safety and security, with Wade, looked at vehicle traffic, pedestrian safety, fencing. We also kind of went back through our vestibules, and we kind of have like an A+ version of a vestibule, and some have got the A version of it, so that there was kind of a thing that changed during the course of the bond, and so there's a couple things we'd like to go back through our vestibules and do, but they're all safe. Security cameras, still here. Classroom technology, some buildings are ready for an upgrade. And then AC in the gym and in the kitchen, and then restrooms. And then utilization index on this scale is, the building in terms of brick and mortar, does it have enough space? Like in this case, we have classes out in portables. So that would get kind of get a little bit of a ding on the score over toward the red if we're still using modulars. We eliminated 60% of over 60% of our modulars. We still have some. So here's an example. We're going to give you two buildings. So here's Krista McAuliffe. We're talking about a user-friendly thing to look at. Krista McAuliffe, we renovated the existing building, and then we actually doubled the size with the large addition on there. And so you can see the program capacity is really 900. Last year, their enrollment was at 894, like great at capacity. That's perfect on there. No modulars, because we took off, Jeff, 19 modular classrooms or something off that campus. This close, okay. And so when we look at the facility condition summary over there, you'll see some green over there. The one thing you'll see in red, replace windows in the old section. They're older windows. We really need to look at replacing those. In some buildings, it's because parts aren't available anymore if they break, and it could also be for energy conservation. So that wouldn't be in the new area, but it would be in the pre-existing area. And so we kind of come up with this dashboard and functional adequacy. You can see on the site, in terms of traffic was good. What we get red on was admin door locking. That was one thing, one door, one key reader that we'd like to go back and put on one side of a door. So we marked it in red. So you can see functional adequacy. You can see the facility condition and the utilization. Number down here is 0.99, so that's almost perfect for that building. And then where's the FCI is 0.003. If you get an FCI at around 0.5, you're talking about building replacement, probably 0.5 or higher. And then the adequacy number is a 0.28, which is really pretty good. This one is a scale that was kind of kept consistent, but it's not, it was based on our criteria for it. So it's maybe not as mathematically, accurate, if I want to say, but based on our the criteria we used. And then here's the facility overview for McAuliffe. Now this is just gives a description of the building. So again, each building will have this, and then it goes through with pictures. There's a high priority up there on better signage and windows, and then some of the maintenance things that need to be due because we have some cracking in some of the bathrooms. This may go on for 20-some pages, I'm just giving you an example. But each building will have this with specific things pictured and then prioritized as whether it's a short-term or long-term or priority need. Here's another school. Talk about Brentwood. Brentwood's an older school, built in '63, so figure out how old it is. You know, we talk about Greeley Central coming up on 100. We got a lot of schools that were built just 30 years after that, which are approaching 70 years old. We don't think about that. We just think of Greeley Central as being like really old. We got a lot of like cousins that are coming up, and we kind of forget about that sometimes. But you can see the utilization is pretty good, 0.92. You know, we're using the spaces. They have a couple portable classrooms. But by and large, most things in the building is okay in terms of their capacity. But facility condition index is 0.65, well over 0.50. And that's with the things that we did to fix it up in the last bond. So, you know, you can put on new carpet and new paint and new door hardware and new exterior doors, but what are you doing? You know, the building, you know, still has some problems there.
But the structure's good.
Yeah, structurally, it's made of brick.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's block.
Way to find the
Made of
positive.
materials.
I found that green.
Yeah. So that is something that, you know, is something that we need to talk about. With everything else, then how do we prioritize that? And then the functional adequacy summary, you can see these things in green are really things we worked on in the bond, in the bond issue.
Saying those are things we did work on,
The
or those
green.
are things that will need to be?
No, green we did.
Green
So
we
they're
did,
good.
okay.
Green's good.
Red
You know,
is
so red is not,
the next
needs
list.
work. Yep, needs work.
Ooh.
So
Red's my
you can
favorite
see
color.
we have buildings in between these two. These would be two extremes that we wanted to show you,
Is-
just how the reports look
Is
like.
this the most extreme? Like this is
Um,
0.65 is the highest?
It's pretty, it's one of the higher ones.
Okay.
Scott.
Yeah, I was just thinking like Scott probably has to be pretty close, right? Yeah.
Yep. And then here again, this goes to that part of the report. Probably the number of pages with pictures on this one is quite a bit longer. You know, on this showing things that are deficiency, things that need to be fixed. But just to give you an example. And then here's some summaries. If you look at the FCI, this can be a little misleading, but you'll notice that you know, that's the condition index. Our elementary schools, average year built is 1972. So those tend to be a little bit higher, but our true middle schools, were average built in 74, they're not too far behind in condition index. But with the high school, what you gotta consider is we got nearly 100-year-old building with like a 4-year-old building in there. So it's like two extremes in there. And then in the alternative pathway, Jefferson High School sits in that one, you know, which is newer. So we've got to take these they're comparative, okay, but you have to take them with a little bit of a grain of salt.
What's UI?
That's utilization.
Utilization index,
So it says what our district's doing a very good job utilizing what we have, right? Is that what
Not a lot of
essentially what
dead
it's meaning?
space.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes. And a lot of that's because we got rid of 60% of our 100, or 68% of our 142 portables. So we still have some. And then within the assessment, there are recommendations for each building based on these topics. Everything from safety and security, career and technical education, especially middle school, K-8s and high schools, special education, special needs, preschool. You know, so we're thinking, tried to think in the future, where do we lack preschool where we might want it? We need to make sure we add that in, that how do we, if we want that, how do we get to that? Is it a remodel, is it an addition? Adequacy for meeting teacher needs, do we have the right programs in the right spaces? Remember at Chapello, we had a dance class out in Portable. That probably wasn't that great, and we fixed it. Remove modulars, we think is still a priority, especially in terms of safety and security and just educational value. Our infrastructure where we need upgrades, historic preservation, we have to think about some of those buildings. We have a building older than Greeley Central. Do you know what it is?
Is it Fred Chartis?
Cameron.
It's the Cameron Building where Fred Chartis is older. And then building replacement. So, you know, if buildings need to be replaced, do we just replace it? Can we replace it on site? We got the easy ones already done. I'm gonna tell you that we replaced on site and then tore down. Going forward, I don't think it's gonna be that easy. So we have to think about all those things before we just say, oh, that building needs to be replaced. How do we do that? And then, like I mentioned, IT, nutrition, transportation needs, facility needs, we looked at, those are kind of the big buckets. So that is just meant to give you a high level of what this 1,700-page report looks like. It is gonna be our job to go through each of the buildings and pull things out and start to work on what our highest priority needs are. You know, for the more immediate future. We're gonna talk about bond, what would you put into it? What would be our options to do it and what should stay off, so. If you have any questions.
In this process of looking at the buildings, when does it eventually come in to like show like the hard and fast cost of, is that after you guys decide what are the most pressing? Because I know that with the last bond issue, it was that we have $1 billion of work to do, but we want to get a bond issue to deal with half of it. And so where does that kind of update come?
Why don't I talk just a little bit about process?
Yeah.
So tonight is really the first rollout of the conditions audit with you all. You all are the first ones to see. Cabinet saw this several weeks ago, and now you all are seeing it. And then what we'll do as we get a little later into the fall, we'll put a team together to begin meeting to actually look at this report as well and to consider this report and begin to think about, do we think we would want to go for a future bond? And if we think we would, what might be pieces of that bond that we would include? I would expect that if that committee is recommending that we continue to pursue a future bond, we would probably do some polling sometime after winter break and just see what the community's appetite is for a bond and really what are the priorities of the community. You know, last time around, we knew from our community, from the community team, as well as listening sessions we did and the polling we did, we knew that the community was very concerned about safety and security. We knew they were concerned about upgrading technology. We knew they were concerned about getting rid of those portable classrooms, which was a big part of safety and security. And we knew that they were worried about Greeley West, especially, and the condition that Greeley West was in. And then we also heard if you're going to build a new school out west, which we did with Toynton Academy, we also would like you to consider building a new school in central to east Greeley. And so that's kind of how Madison evolved and got replaced. So, you know, we'll listen to the community and see what the appetite is, and we'll be coming back to you all several times throughout this year. At the end of the day, it will be the board who, in this very room, you will probably talk about which things would go on a bond or not go on a bond, and if we would go for a bond or not and when. That will be a board decision. The soonest we would be ready to consider a bond would be the fall of 27. So there's nothing for the ballot this year, and November 27 might be too soon. We'll see what the appetite is in the community and see what you all recommend and what you all would like to see. We do know that every day we wait, the cost continues to go up. I'd like Kent or Jeff to share just the difference of what we're seeing in costs today compared to when we, say, built Greeley West High School or built Toynton Pre-Engineering Academy. And we know, we didn't really, as they indicated, we didn't do much with restrooms in this last bond. We didn't do much with, we didn't replace windows. We replaced door hardware, but there's still more work to do around that piece in terms of safety and security. And so, it's a big system. It's a big district with lots of schools and lots of classrooms and lots of facility needs. So we'll keep talking, but this is really the first of many conversations that we will have with you all.
Sure, yeah. In simplest terms, when Greeley West High School was built, for the design and construction of that facility, the district paid about $450 per square foot. For the building that's being designed across the street, through this same delivery method, design build, design and construction, we're sitting on an estimate right now of about $660 per square foot. And we watch those prices climb all throughout the bond, as you all recall, largely due to cost pressures through the pandemic and whatnot. And since that time, there have been several things that have continued to pressure the construction market. But that's where we're sitting today. So if you consider the costs that we may potentially have for replacement schools or renovations on that same scale, the dollar figures that were thrown out there for the 2019 bond, you can imagine will be somewhat similar. Even though we made considerable headway with improvements and upgrades on the last bond, we're kind of right back where we were in terms of raw dollar costs.
And I think we just kind of in rough math, we figured if we were to build Greeley West today, it would be the additional cost of like Madison. Adding Madison on when we built it to Greeley West in today's cost. And so that's why I also want to point out in the last bond, we were strategic in getting our largest projects out early to beat inflation. So that's some of the thinking that we have to do going forward, and we always kind of think that way because the only way to beat inflation is to not wait.
The other piece that we're working alongside this is work with our demographer, who will be in next month to meet with Cabinet again to give us yet another update around where the growth is not, and maybe where declining enrollment might exist in our district, so that we can look at are there needs for additional buildings, are there needs for additions, are there needs to consolidate or close buildings. I don't even like to say that out loud because I've always said I'm not closing schools. Well, I'm the superintendent, but we want to be realistic about really where the growth is and where the needs are, and we'll begin to be thinking about some packages that we can bring to you all over the next several months.
Kent, you said that this also included facilities, buildings, like the food service center and all that. Those buildings, I would presume, are also in need. Their index is probably not very good either.
That is correct.
So how, in your opinion, would that all figure in to this as well? Would we be interested in moving forward with replacing those facilities, or just continuing to repair them into the future? What do you see?
Well, there's another word, there's renovate,
Yeah.
which is different than repair. But I think it comes down to polling, like we talked about, what are the priorities in the community, and then, how do we put that all together? Our schools last time were in such great need, and I'm happy we did that, but the price for doing that was our facilities, buildings.
Because there comes a point of diminishing return, I would imagine. on those buildings and the services we provide. They're just not as very, it's not optically, out there. People don't see it.
Right.
So that is a concern. And then I didn't catch it. Did you say this includes the charter schools as well, or not?
The charter schools, and we did this last time also, is that we did building walkthroughs, and we'll give them each that information because they were involved in the bond last time, but then they make their own decisions on, how they want to address their needs. So we'll make sure we give them their reports, so they have that information.
Okay.
And we also talked with those principals, and, they did the surveys, as well.
I remember the first year I was on the school board, the first visit I did on my own, it was a parent-teacher conference. And I went to the schools that I was an ambassador for, and the first one was Chapelo. And I remember just feeling wowed, wow, it's gorgeous. It's such a beautiful space. And then in the next school I went to was Brentwood. And I was like, oh, this is different than what's going on in Chapelo. And so I just
Hadn't
remember.
been to yet.
What's that? That's true. That was before the renovation. Yeah. There was just that stark contrast I remember on my first day kind of on the job. I haven't forgotten it. And so I understand that we can't neglect our facilities. But there are still schools, as the red on that graph shows, that need some love.
Anything else?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Just for curiosity's sake, I guess, will the presentation be significantly different when the architects are here?
No, you'll hear it probably more polished from the architects.
Oh, more polished. Okay. I look forward to it.
We just shotgunned this.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for your time. I'm sure that was an enormous, I was just looking at categorizing all those pictures with the description of what the error is, and yeah, that must have taken a very long time. Right. Well, I find that very exciting because I got to be a part of a bond in the past, and just amazing to see the generosity of our community and then what we were able to do with those dollars. And hopefully we'll get bond proceeds if we do this again as well, because that is what paid for Jefferson High School, the CTE Center, and a number of additions as well. It's like 190 million additional dollars that we didn't plan on and that we didn't have to ask our community for. So that was just the perfect timing. All right, well, we'll go ahead and debrief the work session. We'll start with you, Director Roby.
Yeah, I just, I've kind of been aware that the talk of another bond is kind of coming up, and it's just really interesting to me to see the care that's been taken at looking at our facilities and looking at our buildings. And I think it makes everybody nervous to think about trying to move toward, passing a bond in our community. But I like the whole idea of bonds because I think the community feels that they are accountable, that there is something, that this is specifically going for this, and then there's a community group that is put to oversee that. And so I think for me, in terms of talking to people that I know, that would be a big thing I would say is that, the bonds are really, really trackable, and they're really responsible, and it's a good way to move our community forward. So,
Thank you. Director Lemos Garcia.
Yes. I just want to thank you for the update of the facility assessment and master plan. A lot of information to just absorb and review, and then encourage conversations on what's next.
Thank you. Director Azari.
Well, I agree with everything that's been said. Kent and his team primarily have done a really great job of putting this district in a pretty positive light when it comes to our facilities. So if there's any sort of positive messaging out there, that's it. I mean, it's obvious for folks to see. So as we go into the future, to continuing to plug that is very, very important. And although Kent says that the architects will have a more polished presentation, that was a pretty darn good presentation. So I really appreciate it. So looking forward to the future. It's exciting.
Director Campos-Fitzy?
Yes, exciting, and also just echoing Director Rogi's comment that it makes everyone nervous to start talking about that, and with our current economy and all that. And I think as a board, we'll be weighing all of that as far as timing so that we have a successful bond. And I want to just correct my previous statement. I don't want to neglect facilities. I want to have my cake and eat it too. I want to fund both facilities and our schools that are outdated now. And I would hope we can get our community on board to get excited about both those types of projects. Yeah.
Director Edmonds?
Yes, very informative. Thank you, Dr. Pilch, for explaining kind of the process of it, because I'm like really excited to see what we can do to get the rest of our district caught up, because you can't have a strong community without strong schools. And so making sure that we have safe places for our students to learn, resources for our teachers to teach, facilities that can support serving 20,000 breakfasts and lunches every day to our students, and buses that can be maintained well. I mean, there's just, it's overwhelming when you think about 1,700 pages of things that I'm thankful you aren't going to bring the board into that process of
Stay
going
out.
through each page. Yes. But yeah, thank you so much to Kent and the team and everyone for just always having a sight on what can be, but also highlighting of how well our district works with what we have. We're a resilient community and a resilient district that deserves so much more. And so, yeah, I'm just excited to see this process moving forward.
Director Bentley?
Ditto. Thanks to Ken and team. It's, I know a lot of work went into that. There's a lot of time, and excited to just kind of work through that process as well.
Yes, thank you very much. I also thought it was an excellent presentation, but I am excited to hear what the architects have to say that might be a little bit different. And what we knew before our previous bond was that our teachers and our staff are extremely innovative and do amazing work. For example, Brentwood, with all of that red, has also won a number of awards many years in a row. So excellent education is happening at all of our buildings, regardless of how shiny they are. But we would love for all of our students and staff to get to be in a really conducive learning spaces with the best technology. And so, yeah, exciting moving forward. Thank you for joining us for our work session. This meeting is adjourned.